It's a Saturday morning, and it's actually my last Saturday that I will be working in the car business for a while. I've decided to change my career for a number of different reasons. Last year has been very mentally straining for me, and I've decided that I need a mental health break. I need to do something that is going to be less hours, more stable pay. I mean, car sales are great, but when you're full commission, which maybe some of you guys are, there's a potential for great money, and then there's the potential to make no money. And on average, yes, did really well. But the stress and strain, the mental strain you go through on those weeks when there's nothing coming in, you know what I mean? That can be very straining. So for me right now, I'm having to step back, and I'm going to be okay with that. I constantly, I don't know if anybody who's watching does the same thing. I constantly judge every decision I've ever made. Well, I'm 61. I've made a lot of decisions. So if you can imagine that every single decision I've made, I absolutely judge it. But you have to make decisions. You have to move forward. So I'm learning how to be okay and not judgmental with my own decisions, and to be able to understand that you always make the best decision you can in the moment. 2020, you can always make a different decision, but at that point you have different information. You have different wisdom, you have different knowledge, but you make your decisions in the moment that you're in at the best that you can. And the other interesting thing is that you are who you are because of the decisions you've made. And I hope that you like who you are. I actually like who I am. I like who I've become. I like who I am right now, and kind of interested to see who I become in the future. I think that I am always constantly moving and changing, and I believe that we all are. But I am changing careers to something that is more stable, less hours, also a little bit less pay. But I have learned very much through the years, when I've actually sat down and thought about how, when I actually write down on paper and when I actually meditate on what it is I want, and I stay consistent with that, I find that that's actually what happens. So I am going to stay very true to my intentions and my focus. It's the idea that we really have anything to do with our own success, that we really have anything to do with whatever happens in our life. I truly believe that it really is about the intentional direction that we set ourselves in, and the intentional focus that we make, and that our angels, our guides, actually step in and help to make those things possible. And I think that anywhere we are today at this moment, no matter where it is, if we can conceive or think of something that we would like to have or achieve, or a situation or whatever, I think it has to be possible. If we can actually conceive of it, then it has to be something that's possible for us to get. And I think what gets in our way is that we then think it's completely up to us as to how that comes about. If we feel like we have to have like this complete and total roadmap to get somewhere that we've never been before, or perhaps we've been there, but we want to get there in a new way, which actually is new. I know it sounds confusing, but even if you're trying to get back to somewhere that you think you've been before, it's still a new road, because you're getting there as who you are today. But what I want to get to is that we think that we're going to be able to know how to do it from our past. Well, in our past, we're not achieving where we want to be tomorrow as who we are today. Gosh, that sounds really confusing. But it's the whole idea that we could actually figure out how, in our own human brains, by our past experience, to get what we want. That's kind of crazy. I mean, it's not possible for us to know really how to get where we want to be. We have ideas, and we can look at how perhaps others have done it, and perhaps how we have achieved things that we wanted in the past. But still, at the end of the day, no one can sit down and write out a roadmap for how anyone can really get anywhere. We can point people and we can give people ideas and we can tell them how it worked for us, but it's still going to be a nuanced and a different path for all of us. So how does it even happen then? How do we achieve and get what we want? And so the pattern that I know of, the past that I know that I can plug into, is how have I achieved what I wanted in the past from where I was? And it was so much about being intentional, being focused, writing down lists and journaling and using my mala beads and meditating and really praying about it and being very intentional and focused about and very directive of what's important to me and who I am and why I want to do it. So much of it is really absolutely about making sure you understand your why. Who are you doing it for? And that's the interesting thing being, growing up really as a caretaker, and then the person that you caretake, that situation goes away. In my case, my little brother passing away. You then have to change your why, because it can be really easy as a caretaker to make your why something or someone outside of yourself. And I know we often do that. And there are still, like my grandson, my husband, and others who are still my why outside of myself. But I have to start making myself part of my why. And I think that's something that's always been missing for me because I've noticed that a lot of times, in fact, most times, success has really eluded me because I didn't feel worthy of it. I didn't feel capable of it. Perhaps I was even a little bit scared of it. And so that's very important for us to really look at that. Why are we holding ourselves back from what we think we want or say we want? Why do we hold ourselves back from whatever success looks like for us? And success isn't necessarily money or career or anything like that. It can just be general happiness, or losing weight or getting in better shape or whatever it might be. Or like I say, just being joyful. And I think that is something that I'm really having to work with now, is really being I don't have a distraction. I don't have this every day and every moment distraction of having to take care of an entire other body 24/7 outside of myself. And now I just have myself to really focus upon. And I'm sure that there are others of you out there, and I'd love to hear, is there some reason why you've perhaps blocked your own success? Perhaps you haven't felt worthy or valid for it. And, why is that? Because sometimes you'll list, perhaps your qualifications and your education and all these different things. And then you'll see somebody else that's achieving part of what it is you want, and they don't have any of that. You're like, why is this? The only factor that can really be different is that they can see themselves being there. And that's an amazing thing. And nothing I would ever be jealous of or try to hold them back from. But how can I tap into how I can see myself there? And how can you tap yourself into seeing yourself wherever it is that you want to achieve? Because I truly believe that we all have the right and the capability and the worth to be happy, to be joyful, to be fully expressed in every moment. I think the world is so scared of people who fully express themselves, people who are fully alive, people who are fully there. Think of how many times we make fun of people. Perhaps somebody's even making fun of me walking around talking to my phone as I'm walking through my neighborhood. And you know what? That's the great thing about being 61 is you start losing a lot of that. Your your cares go away. There's another term, but we won't use that today. You run out of you-know-whats. And, perhaps even just posting this video, will anybody watch it? Will it mean anything for anybody? I hope so. But at the end of the day, I have to let that go too. I have to just post it because I feel the need to express. And I hope that someone gets some validity, some truth, some information, some wisdom from what I've been through. That's what I've always told people, is that I've been through a lot in my life, and I'm so grateful for every single some of them terrible moments because it's made me who I am today. But I want to make sure that those aren't wasted. I want to make sure that they bring that they bear fruit by others being able to see that wisdom and perhaps glean from it with having to go through some of the heartache and some of the struggle that perhaps I have been through. And we can get into struggle another day because I think that is a self-fulfilling type of thing. But anyway, I'm hoping everybody has an amazing day. I know this has been a complete ramble. I think the new YouTube standard is now the grandpa ramble, or I can't remember what it's called. And I'm a grandpa, so I'm able to ramble. Now I can finally ramble, and it's completely valid for me to do it because I'm a grandpa and I'm an old guy. So I love that. Anyway, getting old has so many great benefits to it, and that's one of them. I'm going to say cheers to everybody out today. Have an amazing day, and love, peace, and release.